This is a tutorial on when to use signals and when not to use and what to use instead. So let me start by showing what the project looks like. We have a player character, we have some lava, we have two enemies. One is a normal enemy and the other is a gold enemy. So if we step on the lava, we take damage. If we step on the red enemy, he dies. If we step on the yellow enemy, we get 1 score point. All right, so let's see how everything is connected. An overview is that we have 3 patterns, which is tell the manager, tell the parent, and signals. On the main node, we have the control of the unit. And you'll notice that I had here a reference to the player, and I would have a node position, and I was changing the position here. Instead, what I'm doing now is I'm telling the unit manager to move the player. So let's get to that concept first. So what I have is a script called globals, and it simply has these dictionaries. So the dictionaries allow me to quickly add elements to these globals. And what I have then is the auto load. So I went to project edit, auto load globals, and I added it there so that it's accessible from anywhere. And then what I do is that the nodes that are important, that are unique, that I want to reference quickly without hassle, I actually add them to the globals directly. So this unit manager, it spawns when the game starts, right? On the ready. And then it says nodes, unit manager, I'm the manager. I'm the unit manager. So then I can easily access the functionality from it anywhere without having to connect signals. And then we see that it has the move player. So it would say, it's just the functionality that we wanted, right? Move player. And then we're saying when we press down, move it by this speed time delta. And then on the move player, we just change the position and add the vector to it. Okay, so that's a simple pattern. So let's look up now what's happening, for example, on the lava. So we have a lava pool and we have a lava object. So this lava actually should be its own unique, so we can repeat it, right? So we make it unique, save branches in lava. Okay, so now we have to look at it independently. We usually, or I'm going to say I usually, we may have other scripts for other functionality, but it's good to have one at the top. So this one, when we have a parent and children, usually the parent should know the functionality of all the direct children. It might not know sub-children functionality, but it should know about all the direct children. So we know that we have area2d, and then we connect the area2d when a body enters. And then I also want to note you can connect functionality from here directly, right? You would click and connect, but if you connect through the UI, there will be no connect code spelled out. So I prefer to have everything explicit. Otherwise, sometimes you'll be trying to figure where the connection is starting, and you have you cannot search for it, right? You cannot control search for the connection. So always use code. That's my advice. So on the area2d, we connect the body entered, and then we say on body entered. You can call it anyway. And then we have to warn the player. We have to warn the player, or you can put the enemy as well. But I put it only for the player. We have to warn it that it entered the lava. So someone else who's going to handle what happens when a player enters the lava. You're going to tell your parent that the body entered the lava. So the lava doesn't know what to do when the body enters. It just knows that someone entered it. Right. So you can actually make this lava generic and say this is a pool. And you can have a pool of type water or a pool of type lava, and then it says a body entered the pool, and it passes the body and passes the type or something. So the parent will deal with it, and then you can reuse the code. So in this case, the lava tells the parent, and then I put on the lava, it says body entered lava. So the lava also doesn't know, the pool of lava also doesn't know what to do when the body enters. It just tells the unit manager, hey, unit manager, this body entered lava. And then we go on the unit manager and we see, so let's go back. Here we have the pattern too, right? We tell, instead of telling the parent or telling the brother, we have tell them the unit manager, because this is a unique node, right? You're only going to have one unit manager. So there's no point trying to make it tell the parent, the brother instead, right? Get node, and then you could say tell this guy. But then I try to avoid this, because the problem is that then you at some point may figure that you actually need to separate this unit manager into something else, and then your structure is broken. So you would avoid that, and instead, since this is a unique node, I don't care where I move it. I just say, hey, because this guy is telling, hey, I'm the unit manager. Then the body entered lava just says, hey, unit manager, the body entered lava. So let's look again, body entered lava. And then we say get parent, this guy is unit manager, right? So it knows what units look like. So it knows that units, the player or the enemies, have a structure that is a node and then a sprite and a kinematic body, right? So it says body, because we're receiving a kinematic body, get the parent, which is the enemy or the player, and then run the take damage script on it. So it would take damage and then change the stats. And then we have one additional detail, right? This is again the tell the manager pattern. So we say if this guy that entered is the player. So let's look at the player. At the player, I didn't make this generic, but you guys, because I didn't make I did not need to make the enemies as well for this demo. So let's focus on how it is right now. So this guy, the player, says, hey, global nodes, I'm the player. So then the unit manager unit manager can ask, hey, this body that entered lava, is he the player? Those players get node. Check if the body that entered is the body of the player. If it is, then let's tell the UI. Let's tell the UI that the HP of the player changed. So meanwhile, the player took damage, right? Take damage, player take damage. That says damage stats HP minus equal to damage. So it reduces the damage from the current HP. And then, so that happened. And then I tell the UI to set the HP to the new player HP. So I get the player stats HP, and I send it to the UI, because I don't want the UI to be asking the player directly. I just want the UI to change. So the UI should not know that there's a player, should just know to take a value. So let's look at the UI. Player set HP. The UI knows it as a health bar, and knows to call the player set HP on the health bar. So we go on the health bar, and it just changes the progress value, right? The value, yeah. All right, so that's the functionality for the lava, to take damage when we enter the body of the lava. So now let us look at what happens when we enter an enemy. So we have an enemy, right? I made it a unique scene, so we can have several enemies if we want. And I put this as an enemy that we stomp on, right? The player goes on top of the enemy and dies. So what I want to do is that same thing. I connect the area to see that someone else entered it. I connect my code, and then I use the pattern one. Let's ignore the signal for now. So pattern one, tell the parent. So unit died. So let's go back to the main, and we see the parent is the unit manager. The manager has unit died. It simply does Q3. So very simple, right? Instead of the unit killing itself, right? Instead of the unit killing itself, we could just have self Q3, right? This might not be the best because sometimes you want to process other things, right? You want to query this guy to look what stats it had so it can add to the score, or make some animation or something. So it's usually safe to have someone else deal with talking with all these other nodes and then killing this guy. So we tell the manager, tell the parent that I died, and then the parent is the one that decides, okay, I do all my other processing, and then let's kill the unit. So that unit is that. So now let's look at the final point where we actually use signals. This example I made so that we can have signals. Right now, so far we have not used any signals. We also did not use event buzz, right? Because you might have heard of the pattern that you make a globals, you make an event global variable that is an event, and then you call signals from there, right? And then you can connect to those signals. You need the event buzz when you need to talk with too many things at the same time. When you just need to tell one, you're fine using these nodes on the globals. Okay, so let's look at the signal example. When do I use signals? So let's go back to the enemy and we say body entered, unit died. All right, so unit died. Why? So that unit died, and we actually don't need this image signal for anything. This comes when we start needing it when we actually have. So what I did is that I made a gold enemy by inheriting the other one. So what I did is I came to enemies, right? And I said new inherited scene, inherit from enemy, and then I had enemy. Let's put silver now, right? And then silver. Actually, if you change this guy, you're changing only this one, right? So on the sprite, you can modulate to put it more silver-like, I guess. Let's ignore that and focus on the enemy gold structure that I already have. So it's the same thing, right? I inherited the same script from the enemy, and I changed the sprite to modulate to be gold. And then what I did, since this is an inherited scene, I added a bonus as a child, right? So the enemy doesn't have the bonus, this one has the bonus. And the bonus has additional code. So the bonus, what it's doing is that I'm connecting to my parents' unit died signal. So and then I'm doing something about it, right? I do that, and then I go tell the manager, hey, the gold unit died. The manager then let's process that first. So let's stall. We go to the unit manager. The unit manager says gold unit dies because the unit only knows how to talk with the manager, right? With the unit manager, it should not know that there's a UI. So I don't. So when the gold dies, I should tell the unit manager because I know it exists. I should not know that the UI exists. And the UI increases score, right? So it's nothing special. Increase score. This tells the child, increase score. So this guy knows how to process, right? I just pass it the points, and then it reads the current score and increases the score, right? This guy doesn't know about units or anything. He just knows that it needs to increase points because this guy told him to. Okay, so now let's go back to the enemy gold. So where did we use signals? We had, this is the image signal unit died. So this script is shared between the enemy and the enemy gold. This signal is not used for anything, but the gold enemy actually wants this signal. So that's when I use signals, is to when you need to talk with someone that you don't know if it exists or not, right? And that concludes this tutorial. So remember, the patterns are tell the parent, tell the manager, and use signals if you don't know if some other node is listening or not.